welcome everybody.
Hello.
Hello. Looks like people are still joining.
Yeah, we give it a couple more minutes.
Okay.
What time is it?
1:31.
We'll give us a 1:33, 1:33. Can I see the teams? What's teams?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so before we start, while we're waiting for a few more people to join, we'll just do a couple of introductions. My name is Annie. I am I'm one of the board members and the unit rep chair. I work at VMC ED. I've been there for about 20 years. So nice to meet you.
I'm Malay. I'm a nurse coordinator at O'Connor Hospital and one of the negotiators on the board here.
Hi, I'm Philma Dodson, one of the association representatives.
Hi, Shannon Ruth. I'm the other association representative, or one of three.
Hello, my name's Susie. I work at VMC for Medical. I've been with VMC for 7 years, and I'm also one of the negotiators.
Hi, I'm Melissa. I'm a nurse on the burn unit. I've been there for 10 years, and I'm on the board as the secretary.
Hello, everybody. My name is Ryan. I am from For Medical Med Surg. I am the current publications chairperson.
Okay, so the first thing we're going to go over is that classification study update. So good news. We got a realignment, and it as follows. So 6% for nurse practitioners and CRNAs, including per diem and extra help. And then we did 8% for infection control, nurse coordinators.
Clinical nurse specialists,
Oh, I have
staff
here what
developers.
they offered. Sorry. On my
And then 6% for CRNAs
Sorry.
and nurse practitioners.
I can't believe that. And then the dates here. So we'll see that the first pay period number it is pay period number 22, 10/16 to 10/29. We should see that on there. An increase in our check on 11/3.
So you'll receive the check on the 27th as an off-cycle check.
Well, we'll see the increase on 11/3.
Yeah.
We'll see our percentage increase, but we'll get our retro pay check on the 27th, October 27th. It'll be a separate check, so that's good news. Okay. Are we gonna discuss it or are we moving on down the? Does anybody wanna discuss that? Okay.
Can we ask a question?
Yeah.
That voice sounds familiar.
My question is that, originally I guess the way it was explained was that the $10,000 would be the retro pay, and that our raise would start. I think it was supposed to be like September 18th or something, but now the raise is starting later. So is the retro pay going to reflect that?
So when we discussed it with the county, they were at the point where we were gonna have to, I don't know what the legal terminology is, but go back to court. Arbitration, thank you. And so we're looking at, pushing this out into next year.
If we go to arbitration.
If we go to arbitration.
And there's no guarantee we're gonna win in arbitration.
Yeah. So the original classification studies were, this is my understanding, and Shannon's more of the expert here, but they were looking at positions that nurses were leaving. And nurse coordinator, staff developer, these positions, nurses don't leave, there's not a retention issue for those positions. Nurses don't leave those positions. So they were not looking at those. We were gonna get nothing. So what really pushed them was eventually we filed that grievance. And so they responded, and we fought against that because they responded really, really low. I wrote it down here. Like CRNA 6%, nurse practitioner 0%, staff developer 5%, nurse coordinator infection control, they hadn't even responded. They said they were still doing a study, which I think is going to be difficult because when I tried to do my own study, there's no other nurse coordinator. They don't call it that, you know, anywhere else.
Right, I remember that.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
There's like a stroke coordinator, but that's a salaried position. There's really no nurse coordinator. So that was go ahead.
The short answer is that this is kind of a settlement. We get the 10,000. It's not really retro pay because it's not going to be calculated based on what we actually worked or how long it went back or anything. It's just, this is the settlement in order to avoid going into arbitration. Am I understanding that?
Right, an arbitration that could go into next year and then could not get us anything, right? And you know, there's some.
No, I understand.
Okay, and there's some give and take here, right? Because I'm a 1.0, and that doesn't fit for me really. Like I lose a little money, but there's some 0.5s out there that maybe got a little extra bonus. So it just seemed like a good, you know.
And it's very.
Thank you for explaining that.
Yeah, it's very bureaucratic. I'm just gonna put that out there. And I want to reiterate that it's a battle, right? And that's why we always send out that message that we have to stay united. I wish that we could come in here and kick our feet up and say, we want this and we want this now and this is how we want it. That's not what negotiations is. That's not what meeting and conferring is. It's always meeting and conferring and negotiations is always trying our best to compromise. So no side is going to get what they want, even though at this moment it may seem like this is what the county wanted, but really, like there's people that were going to get zero. Like we were actually able to get the nurse practitioners back on there, and then we also were able to take a pause to try to get something for the extra help and per diem. So that's what kind of pushed everything back. But we're mindful that we don't want to leave money on the table, right? And because we represent the whole bargaining unit, right? So I just want everyone to know that when we are talking to the county, it is very bureaucratic, and that was the message that was sent to us. Then take us to arbitration, of course, arbitration and file grievance and do this, and then of course, because then they just get to drag it on, and so we follow those procedures, and they know we follow procedures, and then it just goes right into next year. And I don't think that's fair to you guys. And so I know that you guys are trusting us to make the right decision.
No, and I really appreciate that explanation. I think that what a lot of us haven't understood is that, what the opposite, or like what the alternative, sorry, I can't remember words either today, Malay, what the alternative was. So like, we didn't realize that it was like, well, either we take this $10,000 as like a one-time thing, or we go into this like long arbitration, blah, blah, blah. So
and they originally offered 7,000.
Right.
And
so I really
we battled for that extra, push.
Thank you. Anyway. Thank you for that explanation. All the battling. You guys are awesome.
We're trying.
Any other questions before we move on classification updates, guys? No? All right, moving on. So contract negotiations still ongoing. Like Susie explained, it is a back and forth. And yeah, county is definitely pushing back at every single word from the letter, or from the word the to the word a. And yeah, it's still ongoing. Definitely want to push you guys to check out updates on the negotiations website. You have to register and be a dues paying member to see those actual updates. I will try to post as soon as the day is over, the bargaining day is over. So definitely check those out. I do also post reminders to check out the website on social media. So if you are following our Facebook page or Instagram, you'll see those updates as well. Anybody would like to add?
On that website, are we able to see exactly what you guys are negotiating that day and what the outcome was?
So I will put out, I don't know if you saw the first the first post that I did, second post that I put up, I am gonna put like a chart of the proposal that we exchanged hands with the county. I'm gonna write a summary of RMPA's stance or changes that we'd like to make on that particular proposal. And then I'm gonna take notes on what the county is either hoping to counter, what they're clarifying, if there's any clarifying questions that they have for us. I'll try to note that down as well. And then, it's an exchange, so they're gonna come in with their proposals or their suggestions. And I'll do the same type of chart just from their point of view, what our stance is to their suggestions or proposals, and whether or not we agree and that sort of thing.
Okay, and then do we get say before you guys agree to something? Do we get like a vote or do we get some kind of?
Oh, okay. So, well, actually, I don't have the experience to actually answer that.
So the last, we did a lot of prepping for the last 6 months or so, or 8 months. We've been compiling all the suggestions and all the
So we did a survey.
Yeah.
We did subcommittees. Those subcommittees met regularly and worked on the contract. We sent them other contracts from the area. So we compiled all that information, and then we had a meet and greet of the subcommittees. Then we did phone calls. It was 6 hours, 3 or 4 Saturdays.
It was 4.
Where we gave grouped units together like units, and it was 4 hours, not 6?
No, it was 6, but it was
Okay,
4
I was like, it
Saturdays.
felt like
And I like
se-
to add to that when you're
Okay,
done.
okay. And where members could call in, and we wrote all of those suggestions down, and then we've spent weeks pulling that all together in one spot. We also have that negotiations at rmpa.net email. Go ahead, Susie.
So if we did that for every proposal, we would not finish this contract. This contract would go into January. If we took a vote for every proposal we did and sent it to the members, right? So I want to let you guys know that we do have legal counsel. We have attorneys that represent RMPA. And so before we were to agree to anything, we always confer with legal counsel. And we are your elected members. So we can't send out every proposal, so that's the question, right, to vote. So usually what happens is once we come to an agreement, it's called a tentative agreement. Then you, as the whole membership, if you're a dues paying member, you vote on the TA. And if there's a proposal you don't like, then you vote no for the whole TA. And that's usually how it works.
So at the very end,
Yeah.
that contract that we've negotiated based off of all that information we compiled, if you don't agree with that, then you vote yes or no. But you can always email negotiations@rnpa.net. You can always. I'm going on there and reading things. And then also speak to the economist we hired.
All right.
Anybody want to tell them about?
So
we-
Shanika, go ahead.
Okay, so we actually have hired an economist to help us with the compensation issues. And she's done a very complete study of everything we asked her to look at. So all the comparisons of the classifications in our community of interest, again, comparing ourselves to Stanford, Kaiser, El Camino, Good Sam Regional. We've also looked at all the other differentials, weekend differential, shift differential, educational leaves, PTO. So she's looked at everything in depth, and that's what we're basing our proposals on as well.
Okay, awesome. And then my last question, the $1 million question. How are we going to make sure this doesn't happen to us again in the language regarding when all of our members get a raise?
I can say historically, typically when we negotiate for the whole bargaining unit. What happened before wasn't about a negotiated raise. It was based on a classification study. So that's the difference, because when we bargain, and we're not saying it's okay it happened that way, because I don't think that was ever the intention, but typically when we bargain in negotiations, we bargain for the whole bargaining unit. That increase was based on classification studies.
And it was a side letter agreement.
Yeah.
Right,
It was a side
but
letter.
moving forward,
Yeah.
when when the county decides that there or whatever, there may be a raise for the rest of the nurses.
So we have a proposal that states that we can reclassify, or I forget the term.
But we have a proposal.
We have a proposal that
We can request the classification.
We can request that, it's a realignment, I think it's called a realignment, so that if they're gonna change a classification's salary or money, then we can realign accordingly. So that's what
We
we're,
made a point of that, we made a
point.
based on SEMA language.
Based on SEMA language, which is, am I yelling at you? Okay, sorry, I feel like I'm yelling at you, sorry.
We have a proposal.
We have a proposal, okay, sorry, I'm saying too much, okay.
But the other thing that we should be clear about is sometimes in the contract's not implemented the way you believe it should be, and that's why we have a grievance process.
Yes.
So just to be clear that, everything isn't in black and white in a contract, and that's why we do have those procedures, so that's our other avenue.
Because that's what we're noticing, that it's not followed exactly like it should, right? That's what we're saying.
I do think that having that realignment language, it would be so helpful to avoid this, breaking us up in the future. Because, that in solidarity thing only works if we're all in solidarity. So I think that making sure that stays in the final contract language would be so helpful and important.
Understand that it's still a proposal, so county can still say no.
And I screwed up by even saying that,
Yeah,
because we're not supposed to discuss the proposals,
discuss
because then the county hears it, so I screwed up, so you didn't hear any of that.
Let's stay a little hush hush on that.
It's not that we're just saying a hush hush, we're saying that in contract negotiations, they're expecting that they're the first ones that we tell this to. So we're by our ground rules, we can't discuss this with anyone prior to giving the proposal directly.
We're not talking about the language though, so
These are all concepts.
These are all supposal. We just discussed a supposal. Let's just say that. Right. We just want to make sure we're not violating our ground rules, because just like for us, we could file Thelma, it's called what is the term? A ULP, and they could probably do something similar. So it's a supposal. And so just so you guys we have to also, we signed the ground rules, we agreed to them, so we have to abide by them.
Yes.
It's a supposal we like.
Great.
Okay, we have another.
Okay.
Any other questions for negotiations? It looks like somebody's asking a question on the chat. Can we pull that up, Shannon?
Oh, yeah, sorry, I just looked too. Okay, it says we are going to discuss one topic and then take questions. I'm wondering if it is possible, though, to get through the meeting before multiple questions are asked. Don't want to sound rude.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, if we're all in agreement, save questions till the end. All right. So moving on to safety and security updates. Let me pull out my notes here. So we are still pushing for changes. We do want you to have, a safe working environment. Right now, the metal detectors have been approved by the county. They are, they're just working on the logistics on how to distribute them to the hospitals. Also to note, I believe the sheriffs are instituting a sheriff PSO, and versus the PSOs we currently work with, mostly in VMC. So apparently the sheriff's PSOs are going to have more training. They can be a little bit more hands-on, and they're kind of looked at as a segue into becoming a sheriff's deputy, more like a cadet or a student sheriff, quote unquote, just like our student nurses. So they're going to have a little bit more abilities to help us out, hopefully what we're hoping for, versus just our standard PSOs. I have no updates in terms of O'Connor and St. Louis, but these are supposed to be rolling out mostly in VMC.
Yeah, somebody just asked that.
Yeah, and they're actually going to be rolling out in O'Connor and St. Louis too. They're incrementally going to get them. So they're right now, I think they have like an academy that they're going through. So, and we keep pushing every meeting that we have with St. Louis to get them right away. So they're looking at what they can do, but there's only a limited pool of people, I think, at this point in time, and they are training. Stephanie said that we're cutting in and out. So I don't know if there's anything we can do about that, Stephanie.
Does anyone else hear us cutting out, in and out, or you guys can hear us?
You guys are good on my end.
Okay, thank you.
Staffing update.
All right. So moving on to staffing update. So one of the big issues that we're seeing right now is that on some units, nurses are being asked to lower the acuity of their patients to accommodate for being short-staffed. We feel that is not right. So if you see it happening, definitely bring it up to us. Those particular units, the directors have been notified, but as to what they're exactly doing about it, we don't know right now. And we also want to start tracking how well the hospital, the RN or the nurse's assignment is following the matrices that were developed. So we're asking, and we do have to tread a little bit lightly and carefully. We are asking for snapshots of every shift's staffing forms, which should include the matrix number, how much staffing you're requesting. We should, if you can, give us a copy of your guys' matrices for all shifts being worked. Also, and the actual nurse assignment, so we can see if the request matches the actual assignment being worked for that shift that was requested for. Make sure we do encourage your participation in this. This data we can present back to management and say, hey, you're not following what the systems you have in place. And if you, for everybody familiar with Epic, I'm hoping you are, there is a column in there where you can add on your patient flow or your patient lists what the calculated acuity is. And so we want to make sure that that system was paid for by the county. So why aren't they following it? And that's where we want to call them out on. If you do, I know it's a very unit-based what's it called, intervention, because I know on my shift my unit in Form Ed, I know exactly where my matrices are and all that stuff, and we can take snapshots. Just make sure no patient information is being sent out to us. I'm seeing a lot of questions on the chat we'll get to, okay? Other than that, does anybody else have
To fill out your staffing
Oh.
ratio,
About 6 minutes.
fill out your staff level forms? Is that? Yeah.
Notice the
Yeah.
staffing level.
Notice of staffing levels, even if it's not that you're out of ratio, if you're out of acuity. So if, for example, the acuity asks for 10 bedside nurses, but you're only getting whatsoever, fill it out, and it'll let management and us know as well. Okay.
So we do have questions in the chat.
Yeah, we'll hold on to the questions. We'll come back to your guys' questions at the end, okay, guys? Anybody wants to add to staffing scheduling? No? Okay. Next, promotion from Clin 2 to Clin 3.
Okay, so our MPA has been meeting with nursing administration over at VMC because on some units, mostly the inpatient units, nurses are being told that they have to do charge in order to promote. That's not true. In order to promote, you can be doing two things. I can be doing a project, a committee. What else is there? Project committee. Precepting. But I don't have to be doing charge because I can be deficient in one of the summary categories. But you do have to, when you are a Clin Nurse 3, you do have to have the ability to be in charge. So you have to be trained for charge pretty much, but you don't have to be doing it. We're meeting with nursing administration to sort that out. So if you have requests to promote from 2 to 3 and were rejected or denied because you're not doing charge, you need to let us know.
Yes.
Send us a copy of your request form and then the denial, or if you don't have that documentation, we need some type of documentation letting us know when you applied and what you were told, so you can just email that to us. We do have a meeting, I think next week maybe, it's a tentative with nursing administration about this to finalize, just everyone's position on it. Because at first they didn't agree, but now I think that other nursing officials are involved or executives, and they are understanding what our position is. So I think that we're gonna come to an agreement soon.
And moving on, so member engagement, thank you guys for actually participating. There's 55 of you actually on here on this meeting, and we thank each and every one of you. Negotiations, I don't know if you read my last email after the I think it's bargaining day number 1, so that's August 31st. We win contracts in the field by showing our unity. So make sure you wear your shirts. I know we have T-shirt Tuesdays. Feel free to expand on that and not just limit it to Tuesdays. I know in Form Ed, we have stickers on the bulletin boards that you can take out, and they're everywhere, right? Yeah. So if you ran out of those stickers that you can put on your chest or wherever, let us know, and when we make rounds, we'll refill those. I believe those are folders being posted to the bulletin boards. We'll do whatever it takes to show that you mean business, because it's not what we're doing here and not what we're doing at the bargaining table that's gonna get us a good contract. It's what you guys show to your managers and above. Okay, and if we do host rallies in the future, which some might be in the horizon, come on out, even if it's just for a few minutes. I do encourage us to come out at once as a huge tidal wave, because it creates a bigger visual impact to be out in that, the farmers market area, that huge tidal wave of blue shirts, RMPA swag. It makes an impact on the managers, and we need to scare them in that manner. And that is technically the foundation. Whatever we do here in the office and on the bargaining table is literally just the icing on the cake. We are just guides. We are not the foundation of this union. We're stewards, but the foundation will always be you guys, the members. Okay, so I see. Okay, somebody popped up. Number 56. Thank you. Tell your coworkers. Always put the word out there.
Spread the word.
Spread the word. We cannot be more grateful to you, all of you, because it's you that are in this that put us in this position to help steer us in the right direction towards better pay, better hours, safer working conditions. All of that is because of you guys, and we thank you. So continue to engage with us. We'll get to that. Moving on, advertising. We want to get the general public in on it as well. I don't know if you've seen some of your coworkers, but there are billboards out there, as well as advertising on some of the VTA buses on the back of it. So if you see it, those are not actors or paid models. Those are your fellow membership members. So thank you again. At this point, does anybody have anything to add before we get to questions?
So I want to add to what Ryan was saying, right? Like when we're united and we come out and we show, that tidal wave of blue, also the Board of Supervisors sees that. So it's like Ryan was saying, it happens on the outside, right? So the Board of Supervisors, we need those nurses. We run this county. Without us, where would the patients go? Who would take care of the patients, right? So the Board of Supervisors, they're going to see that. And right, it's we're talking bureaucratic, it's political, so keep that in mind. And I also want to add to take pictures in your gear and please send it in, info@rmpa.net. So we could put it on our social media and web pages.
Even on your social media, just tag us at RMPA, and that would be great.
RMPA_union, everybody.
But also, I just wanted to add to what Susie was saying. When we're talking about the Board of Supervisors seeing this, they're going to be the ones that actually sign off once we get all of our contract language in order. It has to go to the Board of Supervisors, and they have to review it and vote on it. And so we need their support. So if they see that we are so united and we're strong because all of our numbers are there and everybody comes out to everything, they're gonna think twice. They're gonna want to support somebody that's strong. But if we don't do that, then they might think that they don't need to. So that's why we're wanting you to tell your friends and come out whenever you can and just show that you are supporting us, which means you're supporting yourselves because you are RMPA.
And to piggyback off of that, social media wise, RMPA_union, our IG, we follow each other. We follow all of the Board of Supervisors. So the more pictures you guys send in of huge groups of us, and I tag Cindy Chavez, Otto Lee, Ellenberg, what's the other one?
Silva Arenas.
Arenas. All of them. I tag
Yeah.
all of them. I even tag the county of Santa Clara just so that they can see. And another, oh my goodness, I'm drawing a blank.
We're getting lots of comments too.
It's two.
We still have time.
Oh, yes. So the county board of supervisors, they are the ones to sway and influence. All those negotiators on the county side, their bosses are the county of supervisors. So we sway if we can influence their bosses, chances are we can get what we need on the table. And like I said, it's not us that does the swaying. We're part of it because we're also members like you. So it's together that we can influence the board of supervisors to be more, to have their negotiating team agree to our proposals. All right.
And I just want to, before we start to read the comments or take questions, you guys were asking about the proposals. So I just looked, I Googled, I put in, sorry, of course my laptop's gonna act up right now. So if you can Google, I just put in Santa Clara County RMPA negotiations and it popped up right away. It says, it has the successor agreement and you could click here to see proposals. They have already uploaded the proposals that we went over on August 31st. So they are there. So it's public. And then they also have a second tab that says proposals to county. And of course it's blank because they haven't turned anything in yet. So that there's that also. It's public. It becomes public.
Let's go through the questions.
Okay,
All
I'm
right,
gonna read
let's-
the first comment. This is from Jean. She says, staffing matrix, are they current? When were they developed? So
From which hospital?
Yeah.
I think that's what we're needing.
They should be current, but what we're going to do is we're going to request all the staffing matrix from every department because we want to make sure that they're current. We have seen throughout the system right now, especially at VMC, that there's problems with staffing and there's problems with departments not having matrix, and some do, but the nurses are saying they're not accurate. So we do in our office right now, we are working on a proposal to request all the staffing matrix and all the information from the patient classification committees as well, because we want to make sure that everything is accurate and is reflecting what the census is on the floors. So I don't know if that really answers the question, but we are going to look into it, is really the answer. The next one is, can we develop a just-in-time incident report system to report to RMPA? I don't know, April, if you want to explain that, like, what do you mean just-in-time incident report? Like, what are you reporting exactly?
We can reach out to her.
Yeah, let's,
Okay.
shall we?
We can follow up with that because we don't really know exactly what that means or what incidents, but I mean, we're willing to entertain anything. Okay, the next.
Sorry, my mute wasn't unmuting.
Okay.
What I was referring to there was when you guys were talking about, like, let us know when you're like working out of assignment and when the staffing matrices aren't being followed. I know it's like, oh, email us, but I feel like that's something that people like kind of forget. So I wonder if there would be a quick, like, hey, on this date, this is our staffing, this is the issue, boom. Like that kind of like just in time reporting, because then I think you'd collect more data. Even if you did have to go back and be like, okay, what exactly happened on that date? I don't know, just a thought.
Yeah, so that's a good idea. And that's kind of the idea of the staffing level form. So the staffing level form really is meant to resolve issues in real time. So if you're given an assignment that you believe is outside the nurse to patient ratios, and if acuity isn't being considered in your assignment, that's also a violation of the nurse to patient ratios, right? Because your assignment should be adjusted when you have a higher acuity. So what you want to do is fill out that staffing level form. You talk to your charge nurse to see if they're able to change the assignment or do whatever they can to do to address the issue. And if they're not, then your charge nurse fills out that form. And then at the end of the day, the form goes to the nurse manager. They have to investigate the issue, and then it goes to the acuity task force, and the acuity task force looks into the issue.
But if I were you guys, I usually always make a copy for myself, and I actually send it in myself. I do give a copy to my manager, and I also just send it to the acuity task force myself. It tells you on the form who to send it to, and I just do that, but I also pop it into her box, and sometimes it's a repeat, and she'll send it in again as well. And I know you guys probably don't think those forms are important, but they are important because then upper management asks for the data. And so then we go and we pull, because we have somebody who sends them, what's his name? I'm blanking on his name. Shannon, the person who collects them, the QD task force person. Is it
Anaya collects them.
Vinaya?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so Vinaya, and he sends it to us, so then we just pull it up. We have our admin pull it up and then we send it to them. But they also get a copy, so we just resend them what we have and show them that, yeah, there's nurses that are working out of ratio.
So we meet with them. I can't
Every
remember.
month?
Every month. So we go over these forms with management.
And they help us understand what the issue is on the unit, because it could be there aren't enough nurses, or even looking at we haven't requested the matrix, but that's gonna help us understand how many nurses they need, or if the matrix are adequate too. So we have somebody actually in our office that's working on that right now. So that's gonna be really helpful too, but we've seen a lot of issues at, inpatient right now, and that's gonna help us give the documentation that we need to get more staff. So it's really important. Should I go on to the next one?
Yeah.
Okay, the next one is, can you give an example of the matrix they're supposed to follow so we can know what they're doing wrong?
Okay, so well, like it is a unit by unit thing, right? If I remember correctly, because like on Form Ed, it's literally a big grid, and there's 3 columns for low, medium, or high acuity, and it's based on the census on the left side of the column. And once you do your staffing form, it gives you a matrix number. Wherever that number is will determine whether you're on the low, medium, or high acuity for the floor. And once you look at that column, it'll tell you how many nurses, how many break relief, how many one charge, how many HSAs you need on the floor. So I can't speak for everybody's unit.
Yeah.
But it should be like a huge grid that has a low, medium, or high acuity column with a lot of numbers relating to the number of nurses, bedside nurses, break relief nurses, HSAs on the floor. And if it's not on your unit,
We need to know that. because
Yeah, we need to
every
know
unit-
that.
Every unit
That's why
should
you're-
have.
every unit should have
Yes,
a
that's what,
matrix,
we're asking.
a staffing matrix that they're basing their staffing off of, because that's, and if whether or not, I know Shannon said whether those matrices are adequate or not, understand, like I said earlier when I was addressing this unit or this section, certain A&Ms and managers, mostly managers, are telling their bedside nurses to lower the acuity on patients so that we can accommodate for short staffing. So in terms of adequacy of the matrix, I know in my unit, it is very, okay, I see.
So we'll work on that. We'll get to that comment.
Okay, so just keep that in mind. Some nurses are being asked to lower acuity scores, and we saw your comments. We'll get to it as soon as we continue, okay?
Okay, next one is, it's hard to do a tidal wave when people work. I'd love to do rallies like staff meetings, 8 a.m., 1:30, and 3:30, so everyone can attend around their shifts. I know the visual would not be the same, but the engagement might increase.
So the only issue with that is that there's only so many board members and staff. So we wouldn't want to not do a rally, to do one rally, I feel like would be unfair to do at one location. That's why this last time we had our rallies, at each hospital. And so that's why it would become difficult to have like 3 rallies all on the same day. But it's something that we could further discuss as a board and try to come up with the logistics. We could also maybe ask for volunteers that would like to help us out. But we would always like a board member to be obviously at, each location, because it's very important. So that we had been thinking about how, we could better rally together, but we do understand that it is difficult when you're at work at certain times.
Okay, so the next one is, any comments through that the county is purchasing regional?
We only know as much as you guys know. We have asked and they say.
Still rumors.
Yeah.
They still claim, what's it called, ADO agreement, or non-disclosure agreement, NDA, I'm sorry. So at this point, we don't really know. No concrete information on that.
Kind of seemed like we were hearing more over the summer and that it's kind of been quiet.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. It strengthened, and then now it's kind of whispers again.
Okay, the next one is, were you going to give a status update on the reclass of the complex care nurses in primary care? Julie, we haven't received an update, but I can follow up and then let you know what Serena says and if I can get anything from HR. Okay, the next one says, I get that we can't all come to everything we work. I think getting 3 crowds in a day would still be an awesome visual. PM shift for RMPA, hashtag PM shifts for RMPA, hashtag night shifts for negotiated, and lots of hashtags. Laugh out loud.
Sorry, that's still part of the same.
Sorry, I didn't read it probably well. I could have done a better job.
It's fine. You guys already talked about looking at the logistics of doing like more rallies that are more accommodating, so I appreciate that.
Okay, the next one is, are there staffing issues and or PPC committees at the hospitals? So, I mean, I know that VMC has their PPC. O'Connor, they're getting a PPC together, right?
Yeah, it's in its infancy stages, I'll say that, but they are aware that they need to have one.
And
Starting one too.
And then St. Louis is starting a PPC as well. And then staffing issues, staffing issues go to the acuity task force. And if there's an issue here at RMPA, like for a specific unit, we bring that forward to the manager of the unit. We've been having lots of meetings at VMC for different units that do have staffing issues. So I hope that answered the question. Then another question is, not every unit, because custody does not have staff matrix. We'll let Thelma speak on that one, because that's something you've been working on.
Yeah, well, custody, as you know, is, they fall on a different title, like the hospital system is governed by Title 22, and custody is governed by Title 15, and they don't have staffing ratios. But we have been working with them to try to increase the number of nurses so that these, the custody nurses aren't overwhelmed. Dr. Day had been trying to sort of use like a clinical ratio of 1:6 for the psychiatric nurses, but we're still working with the medical side, and it is a huge problem. And we've raised this with the county and trying to see if we can get some relief for the custody nurses with staffing overall, because it is it's just overwhelming for them.
And we have been meeting with our new
County executive?
Yeah,
James Williams.
Thank you.
and
We
Greta
have
Hansen.
had 2 meetings, correct, Thelma?
Mm-hmm.
And then Greta knows that we have major issues, so we are engaging with them, and that they seem open.
Yes, I'm very excited about the, about the new executive's view on custody. They're looking at trying to improve the facilities, the physical facilities for both the staff and the patients. So they have a keen eye on it, so we're looking for positive changes.
And then Kajol's reminding us that there's a PPC at custody as well.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry about that, Kajol.
Yeah.
And then somebody says, does the acuity count for when there is no support staff? We occasionally don't have our MUC, and we often don't have an ED tech or an HSA. And it should, because that causes you as a nurse to do more interventions. Mm-hmm. So that should be considered in staffing. Okay. Then someone says, is there a mandatory, I think it's Kronos location that we must clock in and out? Does it have to be our home unit, or can we clock in anywhere in the hospital? I'm gonna say that I know that this, you guys as nurses might know. First, I'll let you answer.
I clock in anywhere.
So, yeah. I mean, from my understanding, you can clock in anywhere.
Yeah.
But management wants us to clock in on our home units.
And I think that actually.
Yeah, where they can see it.
I think I actually read that in policy, in the hospital policy.
We could find it.
We could find it for you, but I'm pretty sure it says that you need to clock in on your home unit. But I clocked in below my home unit and I still got paid.
But I can remember that I had a nurse that I actually represented that this was an issue for. I'm gonna say like 10 years ago. And that was it was that they had directed her to do that and she wasn't doing it. And then it got to be an issue and escalated to us because they were telling her to do it. And I think there was a policy. So we can look at it and see if there's something that we can get back to you about this, Jessica, if you wanna just call us on the side too. We can talk about it if it's an issue on your unit.
And just a heads up, I do have a coworker on Format that likes to clock in downstairs. but she's like habitually late. She'll clock in downstairs, show that she's on time, and just to get up takes her 5 minutes to get up the elevator for some reason. And she was already talked to, so just, yes, you can clock in. I mean, it's not gonna affect your time card, so to speak, but
We gotta
yes,
look at the policy.
we're gonna verify policy, and two, your managers can see where you clock in and out.
Yeah,
So
and I
just-
think,
If you guys check the policy, that would be great. Because sometimes, we park far away, you
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? And if we punch right there, I understand the managers want to see it, but the record is there. So if the policy could help us, that we could punch, and that would be great.
yeah, and we'll check also to see whether or not you have to be at your assigned place at your start time, right? Because that's really what the issue is.
Yeah.
More so than where you clock in at,
Exactly.
that you at your desk at the assigned start time.
Exactly.
That's really the point. That's
Yeah, and
the
I
point.
think it's like, and I really
That's
think
really
it's like
Exactly.
management dependent on how they follow that policy, right? Like, so it's like unit dependent, I would think. It's
Correct.
like if they wanna, just dependent on how they wanna treat us, right? And so, but we'll definitely look that up, and if you guys could just, follow up and remind us. But
And also,
Shannon's
since you
gonna try
have
to
a
pull it up right
delayed
now.
report, that could be 7 minutes before you have to be considered late, isn't it 7 minutes before you leave? Six, okay. That was one?
Alright,
Alright.
next comment or question?
I have to leave, but I would like to volunteer to help develop a how to be an RMPA member. Something like a 5 steps to get involved in your union list.
Oh, thank you.
I've been a member for 10 years and still don't know anything. Would be cool to have a fun list with links. For example, I had no idea the proposals are public and searchable online. I think we could better educate our membership in small bites, especially since we are trying to increase engagement with contract negotiations. Being a member doesn't come with instruction manual. I cannot agree more with you. This is one of the reasons why I joined this board, besides being picked out and talked to by another board member. Recruited is the word I'm looking for. Picked out, voluntold. But yes, it's a how-to, and my other counterpart, Malay, we had been discussing this after we get our contract signed. That we would like to do like a contract, training to go through, and because we want those, if we can, to file grievances and hold the county accountable, right? When they violate our contract and saying, right, like one timekeeper reads it different, or one manager reads it different, and they read it this way. And so I couldn't agree more with this this message, and this is another reason why we have a new website now. So we do have a lot of work to do, and we're getting to it, step by step. I don't know if you want to add anything.
No, that's
I have an answer to our question right here. If you look at NP 13.1, it says all SEIU, RMPA, and ACE clerical employees will swipe in at the device located closest to the assigned work area. Well, RMPA. Oh, it's ACE clerical. So it's all SEIU, RMPA, and then ACE clerical employees will swipe in at the device located closest to their work area.
Okay, so what does that mean, right? Language matters.
and as Thelma's point, as long as you're at your workstation at the time you're supposed to be there, you can clock in a half an hour early and not get paid per Chronos.
Per the policy, right?
Yeah,
So you could
so
clock
as
in
long
half
as
an
you're at your workstation on time, you can't clock in and then be 20 minutes late to your workstation. That is the point.
Yeah.
And to add to engagement and volunteering, we can always use more area reps. You can get in contact with Annie here if you're interested. That is another way to get involved. In terms of how-tos, yeah, that's we definitely need how-tos on many different positions here, and we will be working on that.
Couple more. And so to add to that person, they also said, I'd love to help before the contract. They added that. I'd like to acknowledge you by your name, but it just says general and it has like a really nice. April, okay. The next question is, does it look like we will have our contract settled on time?
Hopefully.
Hopefully, that's the goal, right? The goal is, that's always the goal.
You have no reason to.
Yeah, we have, we want to get this, get our contract how we want it, and get a TA out to our members before the contract expires. That's always the goal. The next question, to increase in engagement, I'm a good cheerleader, laugh out loud. April.
All right.
Go April.
Rah, rah.
That's it? Okay.
Any more questions or
Yeah,
comments?
we could take questions from the callers, like, so, there's nothing.
Yes, guys. This is for forced search. You know, probably you guys have heard what's going on in that unit right now, transitioning to 12s, or they're doing that piloting. I'm an 8-hour nurse. We've been supporting the 12-hour nurses, and we're very happy. You see that this is being done for them. But what we're finding out, the way they set up, they did the whole setup. Now the 8-hour nurses, they're floating mid-shift. All right, every 4 hours they're floating if the turn is an 8-hour nurse, and if you're an extra help nurse working for 8 hours in that unit, you're gonna float and you're gonna leave your team halfway. We have nurses that they're really, really stressed with this. We're not saying to stop the 12s or anything like that, but what could be done to help the 8-hour nurses? Because this is pretty. I mean, it feels like the patients, you know, they're taking the short stick on this. It feels that the nurse is kind of risking their license by going to a different unit mid-shift, and then goes to another place is going to find out God knows what. So we have nurses that they're even crying right now in the hallways with these things. Of course, the 12s are celebrating that they got their 12, or maybe not. I mean, maybe they're also seeing all of this stuff. I want to think that. But yeah, we're not hearing anything. And of course, they said the program is already running, but the thing is, like, we have nurses suffering, and we are your members too.
So Alex, I actually started getting emails. This is Shannon. I just started getting emails about this on Monday and phone calls and stuff. So I did follow up with Stacy, and I remember when we were having those meetings that Alan had talked to Ralia about it. So I'm trying to get a meeting with them and the nursing staff so we can bring forward all the issues and get them resolved right away. She's supposed to call me back, so that was yesterday, I guess. So I need to follow up with her and try to get a meeting with all of the staff, both 8 hours and 12 hours, and her and the assistant nurse manager, so we can just resolve it and move forward, because we don't want it to turn into like another situation that we have on other units. So
correct. It has become very chaotic for the unit. This is a very small unit, you see, and it has become very, very chaotic. But you should see. I mean, so far it hasn't happened to me. Eventually, maybe when I get back on Friday, it's gonna happen that I'm gonna have to leave my team after 4 hours of prepping that team and taking care of that team. They're gonna send me somewhere else. Basically, these nurses are being treated like traveler nurses, and they're not even being paid as traveler nurses.
Yeah, I understand that. So for sure, I will follow up with her today.
Shannon came to me right away because Formed also did the trial last year. So Shannon did come right away and
thank you very much. It has become pretty chaotic, let's just put it that way, especially for the 8-hour ones.
Yeah, it was bumpy for us too, but we contacted RMPA first before we started anything, and we did. Yeah. It's good to have everyone together, right? Like you want to have meetings with management and everything. So we're gonna keep on it. We'll be in touch.
Thank you very much.
Can I read another comment? Yeah. So I'm going to read another comment real quick. So this is from Diane. And Diane, I did not forget about you. I brought this up to Shannon, and you might remember that I brought it up to you. So her comment is, I strongly feel that CNSs, staff developers, and nurse coordinators should be provided work phones. I do not appreciate having to use my personal cell phone for work business, giving my number to vendors, staff, etc., taking pictures for developing educational material, etc. The contract states only those on call. And I had mentioned that to you, and I was going to reach out. So that's my apology. Diana, I dropped the ball. But if you could send us an email, because we just wanted just exactly how you wrote here, if you could just send that to us, and then we could reach out to your manager. Yeah, that's what we had discussed, right?
Yeah, and it's something that we can also address in negotiations if we don't get resolution right away, right? If you're doing business and you need a phone. Okay. So we'll look at both, trying to get it resolved right now. So send us an email, like Susie said, and then if not, then we'll also bring it to the table.
Yeah, I know you did send me an email to follow up, but if you could just list it out how you did here, that would be great. There's another okay, somebody wants to direct a concern off record. They could say after the meeting, so they can, or they could call.
Sure, they can call. If you have a concern, just give us a call here at the office. Is that what area do we?
It doesn't say.
Yeah, just give us a call right after the meeting and we can talk to you about your issue, if you have a personal issue.
The next comment is, what is the language in the contract regarding working from home? There are some tasks that staff developers, CNSs and nurse coordinators do that can be efficiently done from home, especially for half codes. I'm not saying every week, but from time to time it should be acceptable if appropriate.
We don't have any language addressing that. because really prior to COVID, people didn't work from home. So we don't have anything, and if you specifically like want to send us something that maybe we can look at for contract negotiations, we can do that. Go ahead, Moy. Oh, we have a proposal? Okay. Give us language so we can maybe try to look at it for negotiations.
The next comment is, I work on 3 RRU and we are going to start surveying our nurses about implementing 12-hour shifts. Also with keeping 8 hours as well, and are worried about having to float the last 4 as well. Can I be included after your meeting regarding this issue? Thank you so much.
So for 3 RRU, right?
Yes.
We did meet with people or staff about this, and that they were going to talk to everyone, and then together before you move forward for those shifts, RMPA has to be part of that. And I think really what we're looking at as an organization is having guidelines, because like a lot of units want to move towards 12 hours. So we feel if we have guidelines of what works, I know that Susie's unit has both, and it took a while, they ironed out all the problems, but we can look at what they do there in order to make it better on your unit. So as you move forward, if you're in shared governance, give us a call and we can talk about it and then decide what the next step is.
I have one last question. Can I ask?
Mm-hmm.
Are you guys familiar with section 6.10? The one that says that, that you can make any changes, especially these drastic changes of 12 hours, just within two times.
Yep. That's not what the shift exchange says. The shift exchange says that you, in February and August, you can exchange different shifts if you're the same code status.
Because these folks started this process September 4th, I think. So I think they cannot implement something like this within the fiscal year.
What are we talking about, Alex? 6.10?
6.10. You can only make implementations to change the shift between January, February 1st to 10, as well as August 1st to 10. But if you start implementing something on September 4th, then that's out of the fiscal year.
Yeah, that's not when the shift exchange happens. Typically, they might have a problem because they might have looked for somebody that can exchange the shifts, and then they delayed the implementation. But typically, this is how it works. Let's say if I'm a half code on day shift, you're a half code on PMs, we can flip shifts. So you can take my shift, I can take your shift. It has to be a comparable code status, and then it would just be going to the other shift.
Correct. And these guys who are 12 hours, they're not 12 hours codes. They're still 8-hour codes, isn't it?
Yeah, he's connecting this to the 12-hour shift. And these are two separate provisions. This is an exchange of shifts, like Shannon said. The 12-hour shift, that's an alternative work schedule. That's governed by section 8.19, I believe it is, which is alternative work schedules, 8.18 on page 41 of the agreement. That's what handles the conversion from a 10-hour, 8-hour shift to a 12-hour shift.
Which section is that you said?
8.18.
8.18.
Right. What you're referring to is the exchange of an existing shift that you have. You're switching from one group to another or whatever, like she was saying. That's a whole different story. It's not an exchange. Yeah.
As you can see, for ARU, whoever's going to make the change it's a pretty violent change, especially if you're 8 hours. If everybody was working 12s, it would be totally different. It would be an easy transition. But when you got the 8s in between, you see what I'm saying? That becomes extremely rough.
But as Shannon said, she's going to go over that whole thing with you. But just understand that you're not obligated to work a 12-hour shift. This is something that you guys will vote on as a unit. And of course, and we actually like the 12-hour shift. I mean, we actually, it's good that they got it, and we don't want to stop that process. But when you have nurses that are grieving around, that they're going through hell, you see what I'm saying? Just so others to have a better position. That's pretty, the 8 hours. Yeah,
it's pretty bad.
So like I said, we're just waiting for Stacy, and then I'll follow up with her, and we'll go from there.
Thank you, folks.
Okay, I have another comment here. Is there an official date for when RMPA will be meeting to advocate for more NP job roles, utilization and discussion around increasing the number of nurse promotions among internal nurses with Karen Kettner? It's been about 1 year, no updates on this plan that was promised.
I think this is something that we're working on. We do have meetings with Karen about different things and stuff. We actually, I think, have a meeting next week about the implementation of the 103 and 104. And we're always advocating for more nurses in the system. We've been doing that with the county executive, more NPs. But I think in negotiations, we're also looking at different avenues. We've always been trying to bridge that nurses who become NPs in the system are able to move to a nurse practitioner position without being an extra help. So we continue to do that. So I don't have any other updates about that, but we can also have a town hall meeting where maybe we can have the NPs meet with Karen Kettner and we can all just, discuss what the issues are.
And we have stuff in the works and we'll just keep it.
Yeah.
We have a proposal with an S.
But that's something we continue to work on.
Yeah.
Any more?
No, there's no more, no.
So anybody else have any comments on the phone? Or maybe there's something we didn't answer or anything else?
No? All right, well, if you get, okay, yeah. Oh, how is the new Jeff Smith? His name is James Williams. He is from County Council, so he is an attorney. We've only had 2 meetings with him right now. I have yet to personally meet him. I just saw a picture of him, really.
He's been very involved in the hospital system before because he was in charge of the implementation or the movement for when the county acquired St. Louis and O'Connor. So he's familiar with the hospital system, he says.
Any other comments, concerns, questions, everybody? I think we are a little bit over on time. And well, thank you again. I guess we will adjourn this meeting. Thank you again. Show your spirit. Continue to wear your merch around the hospital. Do your best to scare management and sway the influence the board of members, our board of supervisors, so that we can get a good contract. All right.
Thank you very much. Have a good one. Thank you.
Have a good afternoon.